of the Digital Innovation Unit at LafargeHolcim, and I'm leading the Open Innovation Approach LH Startup Maker. I'm excited to be here today and talk about innovations in our operations and how we collaborate these days with startups. So with me today on the panel is Frank. Frank is a colleague from the Global Digital Innovation Unit, and Frank is working actively with local operation teams on better understanding their pain points and seeking innovative solutions and how those could help them to resolve the pain points. Furthermore, we also have Alessandro. Alessandro is the head strategy and digitization for Lafarge Poland. So with him, we have somebody who is really with his teams on the ground working on these topics and also having great experiences with startups. To start with, I would like to give you a bit of a background about LafargeHolcim and about our ambition and why you as an entrepreneur or an investor should be interested in the construction industry. The maybe most impactful global trend in the last decades for mankind has been urbanizations. Cities like New Delhi became a mega city already around 1990, with already 10 million inhabitants at that point in time. But by 2020, so 30 years later, New Delhi has tripled in size and has reached now a population of 30 million. And this trend is expected to continue with another 2 billion people moving into urban areas in the next 25 years. And 60% of the infrastructure needed for that has not been built yet. So these are kind of highways, bridges, schools, hospitals, but also a lot of affordable housing for the people moving there. Now combine this with challenges like climate change and scarcity of resources, and you will understand that we have almost a perfect storm. To solve this challenge, we need to build greener, we need to build smarter, and in the end for all. Our company, LafargeHolcim, is a leading construction material company and the largest global producer of cement. We operate more than 2,000 sites in 75 countries, and we cover the entire value chain from the quarry to the production, to the supply chain, and up to the construction site. And this from Colombia to Canada, from the UK to Uganda, and from the Philippines to Poland. So with us, you can go anywhere on the world and help to solve the challenges there. So with our size, we have the opportunity and to some extent also the obligation to impact how we will build this future world. And we are convinced that innovative digital solutions and a digital way of working will allow us to disrupt the industry for the better. Will disrupt the construction industry, yes. That's why we have launched our LafargeHolcim Maker movement with a focus on innovating our business. And we have established the LH Startup Maker to bring new startup solutions into our organization. In the panel today, we will discuss how we work with startups, how we help startups to create an impact in our organization. And you will hear a little bit about which areas we consider most promising and existing challenges. So with that, maybe let's get started with our panel. And Frank, tell us a little bit, where does usually kind of the discussion start?
Hello, everybody. Great to be here. I'm very honored to be able to share with you some of our thoughts. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm actually looking after topics around manufacturing and supply chain in the Maker movement that we have here. And with this, I'm working a lot with our factories on the ground in the cement making. And what we would like to share with you is a couple of ways that we usually work together and a whole bunch of examples to hopefully be able to demonstrate to you how we work with startups, how we're trying to source new solutions. But before I kick off the 5 golden ways, how we bring solutions into LafargeHolcim, I would just like to take 2 sentences on what the cement industry actually is. As the cement industry is a heavy industry, it's energy intensive, and it operates expensive and long living assets around the globe. So this is not a consumer goods industry. It's really a basic industry, has been around for quite some time, and with this also has a corresponding potential for innovation right now, and especially in the digital space, there's a lot to do. So I would like to invite you wholeheartedly to interact with us and maybe help solve some of our biggest challenges. So here are the 5 golden ways how we bring solutions into LafargeHolcim with some examples. And I kick it off with the first one. The first step is really about identifying pain points internally. That should not be a surprise to you. Of course, finding what is the problem in the factories is the first step. Now imagine an experienced plant team that is loaded with day-to-day tasks to keep the assets running, a lot of domain knowledge, and really being focused. Usually people work in their places 20, 30 years. And this is the situation we start out. So design thinking on new tools and questioning the status quo sometimes really becomes a challenge for those teams because there's so much stuck in the day-to-day business. So when we look into pain points, there's quite some work to do in order to uncover them, drill down. And here, discussions with startup companies showed us in the past that they can be very, very helpful. First of all, to open the minds, to bring some fresh point of views from the outside, and also an innovative mindset, a forward-driven mindset, and also certain speed behind things. That is very helpful. So just to share, a simple example here, we have been working with several factories, and one of the topics that came up, besides many others, is the topic of lighting. So making cement is a heavy process with really big machinery. It goes from quarry with blasting and big trucks all the way to some processing and then preparing the products. It has a level of danger to it as well. So a typical cement plant has 3,000 lights, and they're normally always on for safety reasons, to make sure that whenever somebody walks somewhere, they see where they're going. Also, it's important to keep them on so that if something happens, an incident happens, we need immediate responses. We have the right lighting in place. We don't have startup times of lights that have to be considered. At the same time, running so many lights is an energy consumption that we cannot afford, we don't want to afford, and actually from an environmental point of view doesn't make sense. So here, we have worked with a couple of startups to identify and think about what are actually solutions that we can do. And they showed us options from around LEDs, about smart light fields that adjust correspondingly on industrial scale, programmable controllers, or even predicting light requirements based on process parameters of our equipment to kind of predict when light is needed where for an emergency intervention, for instance. This discussion was very, very helpful in order to open up the minds of those involved to really think in a broader sense about solutions, about options. And I think made the pain point analysis on our end much more sincere, much deeper, and much clearer. And we're now actually working on implementation of those solutions. That is the first way, way number 1, pain points. And I'd like to hand over to Alessandro, who will be sharing with us the way 2 around piloting.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. So piloting is quite an important step. After identifying the pain points, LafargeHolcim adapts the MVP product and tests it in a joint pilot project with the startup. How do we do this? Let's say that after first of all, we have to select the right partner, and this is done after an extensive research. Then we have to discuss the pain points and go through the pain points and specific process with the startup. Make a rough business case that we can discuss with them, that can be understood and shared between the 2 teams. And if there's a fit, then there is a proof of concept. This may happen in two ways. I can make a couple of examples. So example one is a process which already exists and had to be improved. We talked about how much the cement industry is energy intensive. Well, one of our, let's say, main cost positions is electrical energy management. So here, this is something which we already try to optimize on a yearly and monthly basis. But this is what we wanted to improve in these examples. Electric energy management, the accuracy of which we wanted to improve from 95 to 97%. We are now piloting in Kujawy in the north of Poland, one of the biggest plants in terms of cement production in Europe, two tools which allow us on one side to purchase, sell energy from several sources, settle it in hourly cycles, and report it to market operators in order for us to decrease the unit cost of energy by simply reselling the energy that we don't use. And the second example is is a tool to schedule production planning for our plants, to allow us to run scenarios and better allocate energy between plants and within the same plant between machines, which obviously not run at the same time. Here, how do we do this? We in this specific case, in the last case, so on the production planning tool, we run historical. We're currently in the process of running historical data on the tool and to check, let's say, compare the output of the scenarios produced by the tool with the historical data we have. So this is one example. The second example is a process which was completely reinvented. This is a health and safety, let's say, monitoring process that we carry out in our cement plant, where around 200 subcontractors every day move between the different gates and the different parts of the plant. So here there was a clear loop and lack of analysis, because we couldn't have people controlling all these 200 stakeholders on a daily basis. So we decided to implement both a software and a hardware. This health and safety detector is based on CCTV camera and plus edge computing, and is running 24/7, taking pictures. We trained the tool in a POC which lasted 8 months. And here, we analyzed for these 8 months around 1 million images out of 2 million detections. We, together with the startup, we annotated manually around 70,000 objects, and now we have this tool which we've been testing for let's say which we just finished testing, and now we have to move to the implementation part, which is the most important. So here I can introduce the third way we have in cooperating with the startup. This is the adoption. This third step, this third way, is where, let's say, the heavy lift is on our side. We need to get our organization to move, to adapt, to change, to do it quickly. We are taking this very serious, and therefore a startup who has experience and can help us on the adoption as a clear competitive advantage. Here, adoption is very important in two areas. Firstly, it's about the adoption of a new mindset, of a new way of thinking, a new way of working. In order to for the local teams to be empowered and to take full ownership, we follow a bottom-up approach. by helping them to identify their pain points and focus on solving these through the technology. So we can ensure local ownership, which helps on the change journey. In terms of the health and safety detector and its adoption, which is currently being implemented, it is quite important because we have multiple teams cooperating. We have the production team, we have the logistic teams, and then we have the health and safety team. So they're together with the startup. They're working on a let's say on implementation roadmap where we will move from let's say POC concept, which is already running and producing some results, which allow us to take already a better decisions, to a more let's say automatized process where the tool is connected to, for example, with our gates, and moving from one part to another. We work on change management of the ways the three teams I mentioned dealt with health and safety for our subcontractors until now. So the second area of adoption is the focus on the technology, and this is done through KPIs that change along the life cycle of the implementation, starting from the technical implementation that I talked about, followed by the continued use. And by operational impact value creation. So now, for example, in this example, we started with KPI when we had the POC, which was that we wanted 30% of all the selected identified let's say uncompliant health and safety behaviors to be reported, and now we're moving from this 30% to a 50%, following the implementation of the technology. I'll pass it back to Frank, which will go on the fourth way of cooperation with startups.
In the fourth way, we talk about scaling. So far, we have talked about identifying the solution, bringing it into the organization, and now we scale. And the good news is here that LafargeHolcim has one of the largest industrial networks that is actually connected. Bengt mentioned it before, more than 2,000 sites globally. Out of those, 200 are cement plants, and those cement plants, those 200 cement plants, are very similar in the setup. So once a solution works in one cement plant, the likelihood that it can be scaled almost immediately to all of them is quite high. So that is, I think, a great opportunity for good solutions to become really at-scale solutions. And in that sense, we have built an in-house venture or in-house startup, if you want to, a platform for production data that allows to set up and steer applications to steer manufacturing processes in real time and use machine learning, for instance, to reduce energy consumption and improve CO2 emissions. So that's something that we have already. It's currently running in 130 cement plants. To give you an idea, we started about a bit more than 2 years ago with an MVP, and now we scaled in these 2 years to 130 cement plants, combining more than 150 legacy data sources, and is used on a daily basis by thousands of our employees. So this is really connecting the cement plants and the data of the cement plants. And if there is a solution that can connect on top of that platform, it can scale quite easily in our entire footprint. The second topic I would like to share with you is around health and safety, a case. Health and safety is very, very important in the heavy industry, of course, in all industries, but especially in the heavy industry. And plant managers have to be on the ground to work with the teams and to show their face and really make sure that health and safety is also receives the necessary priority. So we have an app that helps us to ensure and track those interactions on the ground, and with help of QR codes, geo-tracking, recording of incidents and interventions. This is actually a simple, maybe startup-like solution that solves a very specific pain point. And it was first introduced in a cement plant and then scaled to about 20 cement plants in India. And now within a few months, we've expanded from the 20 cement plants in India to more than 200 sites that include cement plants, quarries, and other sites in the Africa, Middle East region. And what this shows is that we can go from, let's say, really scale from a single proof of concept to a full-blown, let's say, 200 plus installations. And at the same time, we can go from one geography to the other. And the third thing that we can do is we can go from one part of the business, namely the cement plants, into other parts of the business as well, if the use case makes sense. So I hope this showed a bit how scaling can work, working with LafargeHolcim, and I hand over to Bengt for the way number 5 around how we actually do interactions.
Thanks, Frank. And I think hopefully the examples showed you a little bit how much we focus on the pain point and on solving a specific use case. And that's also why we focus in the process of how we want to interact with you as startups very much on this use case and an early test of your technology, of your MVP in our market environment. I mean, for us, it is all about, can your solution really solve our problem? And we understand you want to demonstrate that your solution is unique and can make a difference for the construction industry. And you would like to just prove that on the field. And that's why we have set up a very efficient and effective process to connect easily with you, to set up a proof of concept, a pilot project, as quickly as possible on the very simple standard agreements, which make sure that you feel very comfortable in terms of IP is all obviously with you and so on, and which gives you, together with the business owner, the opportunity to test the solution on the ground. Typically, this allows us that we can get started with a proof of concept, having a structured agreement in place, having clear KPIs defined what we want to test after something like two months. And a usual pilot takes them maybe a duration of 2 to 4 months. And the most common outcome is hopefully a successful pilot project, and then that we would become a reference customer for your startup. Typically, we are not doing investments, but this is not something which we are not ruling out either. So, but the standard outcome would be that you can claim LafargeHolcim as a reference customer for the construction industry. I hope now kind of the participants are already eager to work with us. Maybe Frank and Alessandro, you have a couple of topics where we are currently working on or which we try to address.
Yeah, I can quickly share some of the topics. Just to give a bit of a flavor. So health and safety, we mentioned it already. Tough tech and sensors obviously is something for, let's say, established industry and ours. Predictive maintenance, process, and quality optimization are always topics. Maybe topics that Alessandro already mentioned are energy management and procurement. So going between the procurement and the production space, also production planning itself, automation of standard operating procedures and tracking. And last but not least, maybe patrolling is also one of the topics that we're looking at right now, is how do we help our colleagues in the plants to do their walk-bys in a good and efficient way with the help of digital tools.
So maybe if you have any questions also to us, feel free to bring them up so we can address them here. In the meantime, maybe Alessandro, you have anything to add?
I would simply say reach out to us. Both if you have a solution which can can tackle a specific problem or a problem which is more global, which could be even CO2 emissions that we didn't discuss until now. There's really a lot of areas where we can thrive together, and we can test solutions and implement them together and scale them.
So you can reach out to us either you go through our portals on the lhstartupmaker.com. There is a contact form if you're a startup and you want to connect to us. Obviously, you can connect through the social media channels like LinkedIn to Alessandro, Frank, and myself. Also, you will find on LinkedIn, you will find quite a lot of stories on topics that we are currently working on or success cases that we have been doing with other startups, which can be maybe also an inspiration for other areas, which can be interesting, also outside of the manufacturing. And that's maybe another call. We are now here talking under the Industry 4.0 umbrella, but I mean, we are covering the full value chain up to the commercial side, and we are looking there into solutions around the supply chain, around fintech solutions with microcredits and so on as well. If there are no questions, I would like to thank Alessandro and Frank for the panel. And the whole crowd for participation. Any messages to
Thank you, Bengt and Frank.
The friends in Poland?
Well, I would say please contact us. We'll be happy to cooperate with you, either on let's say offline proof of concept or to make an acceleration with a local accelerator. So we're really, once you can help us to nail down the pain point, to find a solution to our business challenges, then our respective teams involved in the process.
Great stuff. Yeah. So you have a local contact, or you can also try to tap into through the global network. So let's make an impact, and let's see how we manage those challenges from the ongoing urbanization.
Let's be pioneers.